Alright, some Instagram Live. Let's see what I'm doing here. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing today? Looks like nobody's joined. This is sad. Oh, there we go. Hey, Carlos. Hey, Nate. Waving back at you. Hey, Happy. Yeah, chugging that water, trying to stay hydrated. Hey, everybody. Have I heard of census stocks? No, I haven't. Hey, donut, coffee? No, I was drinking water. I had a lot of coffee earlier. Hey, what's up, Neil? Hey, Eric, waving back. Hey, Misha at Dartmouth. Why are we gathering here today? John, good question. To answer any pressing questions and needs in your life, I'm here at your service. If you have any questions about finance, anything, finance careers, I'm happy to be here, help out any way I can. Hey, Joel. LBO, lunch and learn. Yeah, hey, Rob, what's up, man? Hey, Aki. What's the monkey's name? Oh, this is Max. Hey, NBA chick. How you doing? Do you guys like the name Max? Should we change it? Maybe we could change it to something else. Hey, Anos. So happy to answer any questions, guys, if you have any. Okay, from Sean, he asked, how can a Canadian get an investment banking job in the States? Lowering my chair so I can read better, because I can't read anything from here. How do you get a job as a Canadian in the States? I think getting an MBA from the States would help because you have a lot of those visa issues. I think if you're already here as a student, it's a lot easier to network and get into the actual companies and talk to people at the offices in the U.S. If you're just coming in from randomly, I think it's a lot harder just because there's not, the visa issue has changed a lot. Justin Kerr said, TTS on the resume. Yeah, I think you should always put any sort of, Justin asks, TTS, I assume you're meaning trading the street, financial modeling training. Yes, I would absolutely put any financial modeling training, anything relevant to finance on your resume. And I wouldn't make it like your entire education section is probably 1 or 2 bullets max. Don't overdo it. John Bez, you want to be in my video. I don't know why you want to be in my video. Maybe one day we'll host like a joint FinMeme video or something. That would be fun. Pasindu asks, do you think the stereotype of white people in finance is true? I don't know. What is that stereotype? If you could share, maybe I'd be able to. Elite Investing wants to be in the video too. I don't know how to do these like videos. I don't know if somebody's going to come on and put something ridiculous on here, so I'm like scared to actually do it. This shows how old I am. CFA or MBA or both is the question. It really depends what type of career you want. CFA really is more about asset management, hedge fund, market oriented. MBA is really more for like CEO, CFO type roles. Banking, post MBAs or consulting is still kind of probably better to get the MBA. Yeah, MBA Chick Blog, I'd love to do a live chat with you in the future, for sure. Reach out. Let's schedule it. Let's figure it out. Let's see here. Hello, Riminanda. Hello, DS Yang. Pasindu asks, do you think race or ethnicity could affect your career growth in finance? Yeah, I think it could definitely play. It can definitely either hurt you or help you depending on what race or ethnicity you are, for sure. I think to say otherwise would probably be naive. I know there are programs now for, there's been programs for a while to help underrepresented minorities in finance. So like programs like SEO, we're actually working with them right now with our mentor program. they're putting a lot of their top students that are going to be interviewed in banking through a lot of private equity interview prep through our mentor service right now. But yeah, I think, yeah, it absolutely could affect you just based on your actual opportunities growing up. If you're not exposed to this stuff, if you aren't lucky enough to come across Wall Street Oasis, or you don't have a family member that's in finance, for sure it's harder. And so, yeah, I think where you come from and your background can absolutely affect you. This Gautam is asking, M&A advisory to venture capital possible? Gautam, this is interesting because we've had a lot of venture capital positions on our in our job board / Talent Oasis thing, where we're helping some firms, some VC funds recruit. And a lot of them explicitly state, like, we want to make sure somebody actually has an interest in VC or startups in general. We had a lot of people in finance, like with the traditional banking background, and they don't bother to actually make their resume look at all VC related. Like, if you're going to be applying for a VC analyst role, at least have something on there like an accelerator or something, like some sort of startup on the side that makes me think you're a little more entrepreneurial, rather than just be like, hey, I went to this school, did my 2 years of banking, now I want to go join a VC fund. It's just hard to believe that you'd want to go do that. So Nosh asks, do you think being a smart Indian helps land a job post MBA? I think just being smart in general helps. D Duns asks, the most improbable success story you've ever seen on WSO. I don't remember the exact URL, but it was something about someone who was homeless, who had been sleeping in the back of their car for a long time and ended up eventually getting a position and moving up in banking, which was pretty inspirational to read. We actually have a new series that we send out to a lot of the registered members called Sunday Success Stories, where we actually profile the top stories that we've had over the last almost 15 years as a community. So that's pretty awesome. I love reading those. Let's see. Waleed asks an interesting question. What's the difference between a financial analyst and an investment banking analyst? So, Waleed, really depends on the company, but financial analyst typically refers to people who are doing more of the in-house corporate role. So like an FP&A, so financial project and analysis role. So they'll be helping like the CFO, for example, prepare the three-statement model for the company, projections, budgeting, that type of stuff. And so financial analyst I see as like a much broader term that can cover a lot more, but typically it refers to those types of roles. Whereas an investment banking analyst I consider more of a front office analyst at an investment bank that's doing more of like mergers and acquisitions, restructurings, ECM, DCM, so equity capital markets, debt capital markets, and those things. So that's kind of the difference. Financial analysts could be like an analyst that works under the CFO at a startup, or they could be at a large Fortune 500 company. So it's just it's a pretty broad term. Someone asks, moving from private wealth management, or DN8616 asks, moving from private wealth management to sales and trading, is it possible? I think if you do anything junior enough, anything's really possible. The question is, how likely is it? I think what we should be asking. I think it's absolutely possible. Private wealth management, you're dealing a lot of times with markets, so I think if you can show that passion, show that you've developed some sort of transferable skill set. Now, unfortunately, my background is in PWM or S&T, so it's kind of harder for me to say specifically how to position yourself there. But let's see here. Best clubs to be in, start for the best chance to getting into IB or PE, etc. This is coming from not a bot. I think having leadership positions in college helps, just to show that you're not, just following and just having a couple check boxes. I mean, it's better to be in a club than not be in a club. It's better to lead a club than just be in a club. I think any sort of finance club or investing club would show that you have some sort of interest there, and it just helps kind of check a box so that you can help fill out your resume a little bit. So anything with a finance bent to it will typically help you on the margin. Let's see. Can you push for your employers to enable sponsorship for Canadians? Not sure, Sean. I don't know how much that would work. It probably depends on the size and what their budget is with their lawyers and everything. Keeks asks, would you rather work at a hedge fund or private equity during a recession? It's a great question, actually. I would probably want to work at a distressed hedge fund. I think that would probably be the most exciting time if you're working at a distressed hedge fund or even a distressed PE shop in a recession. I remember when I started in restructuring at Rothschild in 2002, we had just, we were in a pretty bad recession. I was in the restructuring group, and there was plenty of live deal experience to go around. So I got a lot of good experience with that. But yeah, if you're in the right group, in the restructuring group, or you're at a distressed hedge fund or distressed private equity shop, the recession can be great. Or if you're at a private equity shop with a lot of dry powder, where you can put a lot of money to work and get some great deals, it can lead to some great outsized returns. In terms of a hedge fund, I don't know as much about that, but it sounds like it would be fun. Let's see what else we got here from Drake Leonard. I've got a good friend with me asking how he should lateral from a smaller hedge fund in the buy side to a more prominent sell side firm. So Drake, I think it's really just about who you know. I mean, he should be like trying to meet up, get informational interviews, coffee chats with as many people at these prominent sell side firms that he's targeting. Try to get a sense for what exactly he has to demonstrate in the interviews, what he should be. I mean, you could, and if he or she wants to do it at a lower stakes environment, they can come onto the forums at WSO and just ask, like, okay, I'm at a small hedge fund, the buy side, I'm trying to get to this prominent sell side firm. Well, okay, what specific role at the sell side firm? Is it related to what he or she's doing at the hedge fund? So all those things really matter. Let's see here. What else we got? Is it possible to get a bulge bracket internship from a non-target school? Is it likely with some hard work? Pasundu asks, is it possible? Yes. Is it likely? No. I think it's definitely possible, especially since nowadays a lot of the bulge brackets are actually looking to more than just like the top 10 to 20 schools. They're actually going much wider with all the higher view stuff. They're able to interview a lot more people. But I think it's still important that somebody from a non-target puts in the work, and there needs to be some introspection. You actually have to understand what your weak points are, how you come across in an interview. So it's really important that the hard work includes actually doing mock interviews, actually reaching out to people, doing networking, the stuff that's kind of uncomfortable when you're an undergrad. You need to do that stuff to actually have a chance from a non-target. I've noticed a lot of people from the non-targets that do make it to a bulge bracket bank, they just tend to be crazy hustlers, like almost like the natural sales comes easy to them, so it's just about getting into the actual interview. Whereas the people who struggle a little bit more think that if I just nail the technicals and I'm perfect, no, that if they'll get an interview and then that'll be it. They'll just get all the answers right. And that's not enough. It's really not about that. They have to really like you. So if you're not likable, or you're awkward, or you're just not good at speaking with people one-on-one, you need to develop those specific skills, not just getting all the technicals right. I think it's a big mistake a lot of people make. Let's see here. Hey, O'Keeks. Paul asks, can I put this on my resume? I don't know what you're referring to, Paul. Easier to move to hedge fund or venture capital from asset management? I would say probably easier to go to a hedge fund. I mean, hedge fund's at least somewhat related to asset management. VC feels like just so, it's so much more like relationship based and one-off. Although hedge funds are like idiosyncratic. You can get like these tiny little hedge funds everywhere. So it just really depends where you want to be and what specific verticals, like if it's biotech or this. If in asset management you're investing in a specific vertical, that might help targeting a specific VC fund. So I don't want to say easier. It really just depends what vertical you're in. And I wouldn't know enough to actually help in those two industries. Let's see. Marco Polo asks, upcoming senior graduating in May. Okay, so you have a little bit of time. Should I extend graduation a semester to load on more accounting and try to land an investment banking summer analyst role? Marco, if you're an upcoming senior, have you had an internship already in investment banking? It sounds like you probably haven't. I don't know if it makes sense delaying graduation an additional whole semester. If you can financially cut it and you think that's going to just give you a little bit more runway to actually network and get yourself into an SA summer analyst, then yes. If finances is an issue and you just need a job, I would strongly encourage you not just to look at IB, but look at specific companies and groups within those companies that give you similar roles if you want to get to IB. So people really underestimate. They think, oh, the first job I get out of school, like I'm set there. If you're getting into a seat where you're developing the right skills, you can pretty quickly, within a year to 2 years, get into IB. And then once you have IB and you have a couple years there, you're a lot more marketable to go buy side, to go to another investment bank, lateral up to, say, a bigger brand or and stuff like that. So don't think that if you don't get into IB right at undergrad, it's over. What hurts you more if you don't get into IB is if you don't get into another role that has another job that has similar skill sets. So are you doing any financial modeling, any valuation? So if you go to a transaction advisory services group at a Big Four, you're still in really good shape, especially if you do well there, get promoted, and have good references to get to lateral to an IB role, say a year or two later. Let's see, here we go. What else we got here? Miss Awesome says Miss Awesome, or Misa Awesome. 19-year-old graduated in 2 years from a non-target how to penetrate top firms, or a better idea to get an MBA from the M7. Misa Awesome, I don't see why you wouldn't try now, and if you strike out, just, go for the M7 MBA later. I mean, try now and try later. Try all the time. Don't stop. There's no reason to just not give up now, even if your odds are low. And also, it's going to help you, even if you strike out now, you're going to actually be developing skills that matter for the rest of your life. Like actually practicing interviewing, like you're going to be interviewing at critical stages of your life every single time. So the better you are at interviewing, the better you'll do in terms of the offers you get, in terms of the comp you get, in terms of where you're going in your life, in terms of professional. So like you're not wasting your time if you're not breaking in. You're developing probably the most important skill for your career and for everything. So just practice. Take every interview you can. Don't reject any interview. Try, get rejected 1,000 times. Who cares? So, you just got to get comfortable getting rejected. I mean, I got rejected a ton of times. I didn't get my first job. I got my first job out of undergrad, but it was in 2002. The economy was shit. I basically struck out. I got to a couple final rounds, but I struck out over and over and over and over again. And then basically got to like my last shot was this Rothschild investment banking job, and by that point I'd already done like 20 rounds of investment banking interviews, so I was so much more polished and more confident, and I knew exactly kind of what my story was. But like looking back at myself, how arrogant of me, how stupid of me to wait till my 20th interview on my like one chance to actually get that polished. What if I had done 20 mock interviews, 30 mock interviews before all those had started? I probably would have had more than just one offer and like clinging on for life, hoping I could get a job when I graduate. So like, I really encourage you guys and girls to actually put in the work before. It's like, a couple days before the interview. You're gonna get that call and be like, hey, yeah, come meet me for coffee or come meet me for informational interviews, and you know nothing about the firm, you know nothing about the thing. All of a sudden, you got schoolwork, you got work, you got all this stuff. No, you should be prepping as you go, assuming you're going to get into that room, assuming you're going to be, assuming you're going to need to be ready. So you're not going to be able to cram it in a couple days. So, anyways, a little mini rant there. What's your outlook on the economy with regards to all the cheap credit and huge amounts of leverage on companies' balance sheets? Good question, DMSC. I don't know, man. Look out below. I think it could be pretty nasty downturn. Hopefully not as bad as 08, 09, but I don't know. I think when everyone's talking about the recession, maybe it's just we're just going to keep kicking the can down the road. It's just going to make for another big explosion, and maybe it'll take 2 or 3 years before we actually get into a recession. We'll see. Okay, what else we got here? And I got to call it soon, but I'll do a couple more. Let's see here. Guillermedel3 says, is it possible to transition from IT to IB? IT, I assume you mean like information technology type work. Yeah, it's possible. These questions, is it possible? Yes, anything's possible. Is it likely? Well, it totally depends on you. It totally depends on if you're going to actually develop the skills that will make you attractive to an investment bank. Are you going to do that? How are you going to do that? Okay, are you going to take financial modeling classes? Are you going to join associations? Are you going to start networking and talking to people about what you need to do? I don't know. It totally depends. But is it possible? Yes, it's absolutely possible. I guarantee there's someone from IT that's made the transition to investment banking. Is it likely? Probably not. You may have to go get an MBA to get it done. But yes, it is possible. And by the way, tons of career switchers going and getting an MBA. They are like, IB. They go an IB and they're like, get me out of here. The associate position in an investment bank is actually really tough. You're managing, especially if you don't have banking experience before, you have analysts that are better modelers than you, and you have to manage them. And then you have to manage up to the VPs and the managing directors that are screaming at you why there was a mistake in the model. Fun times. Let's see, what else is going on here? Kyle asks, thoughts on financial engineering masters. Kyle, I really don't know enough about financial engineering programs and what the exit ops are on those and what the actual placement statistics are of those. Before you spend any money, really, really drill down on specifically what the placement stats of that specific financial engineering program are before you spend a dime. Because a lot of them will say, oh yeah, we place at all the investment banks. Okay, at what investment banks and specifically in what groups are they placing at, and what does the career trajectory look for those specific roles? You really need to drill on that. Let's see. What else are we doing here? Can you please save this live? Catherine says. Sure, I'll save it. Thanks, Kyle. You're the man too. Dow will plummet August 1st. Okay, you heard it here first, everybody. Cooksey says the Dow will plummet August 1st. Sell all of your shares. Guess what, Cooksey? That's what people have been saying since 2013-ish. Everyone's saying the recession's coming, and guess what? You would have missed out on huge returns if you had pulled all your money out. So, still long. Sorry. Maybe just rotate a little bit out. Put a little more in cash. Maybe right before August 1st. Catherine asks, investment banking now versus how it was 10 years ago. Catherine, I think it's, or even 5 years ago, I think it's a good place to be. To be honest, I still think it's a great first job, especially if you want some hard skills and you're not really sure what else to do. At least after a couple of years, you have really transferable skill set. There's still a lot of great exit ops for it. And maybe you'll actually even enjoy the work and you'll be at a firm that has good culture or improving culture because the banks are actually getting pretty desperate to retain their talented people. So let's say instead of trying to go buy side, you actually try to stay in banking. What a concept. You could actually get promoted pretty fast if you're doing well there. So that could definitely be a career, and a lot of them aren't requiring the MBA anymore. There's a lot more analyst to associate promotes. So I think if anything, it's good for people. There's finance isn't like the only place nowadays for the target schools, and some of the target students are kind of shying away from the finance. Work-life balance is more important to people nowadays. So I think, yeah, it's not a bad place to be. There's still a lot of opportunity there. Let's see. Here we go. Cooksey asks, I don't understand your question. Any websites to practice mock interviews, preferably in Spanish, Marco asks. There's probably you could probably find some people to do mock interviews on WSO if you just post it in the thread, say, hey, I'm looking for some people, do mock interviews. We have a paid mentor service. You don't have to use that if you're trying to save money. You could definitely just go on the forums and try to find people to practice with for free. Just going back and forth and say, I'd like to do it in Spanish. O podemos hablar en español ahora, Marco. ¿De dónde vienes, Marco? Ibanez 91. Where are you from, man? Where are you living right now? Let's see. Marco asked, can I send you my resume and give it a glance and let me know what you think? Marco, sure. I don't know if I'll have time though, but I can take a look. I recently passed the CFA Level 1 and graduated in the Philippines. I started working for WM. Is it possible to transition into asset management or equity research? Yeah, I don't see why not, Ludi. I don't see why you wouldn't be able to transition. You have the CFA Level 1, you're in wealth management. Asset management, equity research is so small. People ask, I want to go into equity research, but it's really not a growing business. But it's tough from the Philippines. You're coming from the Philippines. I don't know if coming to the U.S. or where you want to be. But I would look at all the financial hubs near you and try to find anyone that's come from the Philippines to any of those firms or any of the cities around you where there's more of a financial center, to see how they made that transition, so you can get more kind of direct advice, because I have no clue how you'd make that jump. Bye, Kyle. Thanks, Slenhart. Appreciate it. I hope you guys are liking the podcast. We're going to put some more kind of snippets up here. We have some really cool interviews coming live, too. We had an awesome interview with this guy who had like a shit GPA, under 3.0, somehow broke into Goldman, and then ended up is now working at a hedge fund in Hong Kong. Pretty cool dude. But when people ask me, like, is it possible to do anything, I look at backgrounds like him, and I think, yeah, basically anything's possible. So let's leave it with that, and let you guys run. But yeah, the questions of, is it possible? Yes, it is. The better question is it likely, and how do I position myself to actually make it more likely? That's really what the focus should be on, not is it even possible. Well, if you're coming from like no background in finance, you have nothing relevant to the job, then no, it's not likely, and it's probably not possible if you have nothing relevant to offer to the company. So you just have to remember, you're selling yourself. So you got to get good at selling yourself in terms of in the interview, on paper for the first impression, and for your resume and stuff like that. So that's it for today. Thanks everybody for joining. Talk soon.